I was brought up by my grandmother in a small town in Romania, and religion had a big importance in my upbringing. By attending ceremonies every Sunday and going to confessions and being taught in school the moral values of orthodoxy. My film is about the children exposed from an early age to orthodoxy from home, school, and church. I'm trying to bring the perspective of the child I'm not anymore today, and to reflect on our common experience together. So starting from that point, I will select some of my characters, and I will try also to deal with this concept of sin that maybe the adults and the church and the teachers might impose on children from an early age, and I'm really curious on how a 7-year-old can relate to the idea of sin and what's considered to be a sin.
Young children are brought up with not much understanding of Christianity, so I think a British audience would be intrigued to see this. I always think children work amazingly in front of the camera if you're not trying to make them act. So just letting them be is always very entertaining. I was wondering if you were hoping to deliver a sort of overall message. You said you want it to be an observational piece. I wondered if there would be an overall message that you were hoping to achieve with this film. I was also worried that perhaps you might be trying to include too much in this. You mentioned confession, the idea of sin and guilt, the narratives of the religious narratives that children engage with and are captivated by, an idea of commitment, and also a pilgrimage. That seems like an awful lot to cram into one film. And I would suggest perhaps reducing that and spending more time. I would be particularly interested in the idea of pilgrimage from a filmmaking point of view, because it's already got a journey for you. It's got a beginning and an end.
If you would tell it since the beginning to the end, from your perspective, that would be clear that you want to tell about the subject because it's your personal subject, and immediately some images you come back to the places like this, so as to dig in your own memories, in your own life, and it recollects some images and some feelings that you have about your childhood, but also about belief. How do you change throughout the years, and how people react to that, and why it is so important for yourself? What what kind of feelings do you have with this? So if you would make it like this, then it would be very universal also, I think, because then for every viewer it would be also, you would invite every viewer for such a personal journey, okay? So you can also, you as the viewer, you can also make a kind of interpretation, how is it with me? Not only with beliefs, but also with, coming back to my roots, or coming back to what are my bases.
My documentary is about a guy, a common guy from this country, from a small village, who is absolutely normal, who does everything what they do in that place, growing potatoes, tomatoes. He has a small vineyard to make his own wine, good wine, I can tell you. So, what catched me in this, in his story, is that he does something absolutely different, and maybe nobody do kind like this. 100, maybe 1,000 kilometers around this place. But first, I wish to show you some material from my research. It's not representative for my film, but you can see the main characters, the atmosphere, things like this. Thank you. I wish to follow him in this way from cellars to see the together with him to see this kind of road from inverse road from death to life, from how the pianos are transformed there in that place, because the place is absolutely appropriate for this kind of job, but he does absolutely amazing jobs and the pianos sound very good.
Okay, so this is interesting, this contrast, what he does and the job that he's really excellent in comparison to the environment that he lives. This is something, there is drama, there is drama, there is collision between two words, between two realities. So you have a strong collision between two realities. It's just that you haven't presented us the overall point, the overall statement. That
one is that you focus on the exotic side of this story, which is also very strongly put in the sedative parallel editing with work and piano. And secondly, indeed, I don't really understand what's your approach to the character. What's your attitude towards him? If it somehow is going again into this Eastern European, colorful Kusturica-like, kind of story. So maybe there's a thing to refrain from this. You should take care of this, I think.
I don't have any worries that it wouldn't be an intriguing story, but I feel like a little bit still was asking myself that where is this film going, and like similar kind of observations that of course I think you probably will find it, but it's of course those kind of seeing what is the story behind the story, why am I telling? It's like there are interesting people and an interesting story, but kind of take it one step further from this human interest and exoticism and kind of like, oh wow, what a guy, and oh, he plays piano even though he's in a poor country, because it's kind of like also there's lots of prejudice of that premise, like why couldn't be there such a guy, like it's not that interesting after a few minutes. So kind of what are you really reflecting through his story? What is the kind of the meta-narrative, or what is the story behind the story?
I liked it a lot. I mean, I like the images, the editing. It's really captivating, like Dominic said, and it's something I would like to watch. But maybe that's one of the problems, because it's too good. It's more like a trailer for a film rather than a demo. So you don't actually get to see the pacing, the real pacing of the finished film. So I don't know, can you keep this up for 1 hour, maybe 1 hour? I don't know how long the film will be, but can you keep this editing throughout the whole film? I don't know if it works.
I think that you are very close to very important metaphor, maybe, of your country, of Moldova. That I can imagine that this country is a bit like the old piano, so full of dust, and forgotten and standing in the shadow. But there are people who try to step out from the shadow, who try to do something, and that's why in this case this guy repairs the old pianos and he does something beautiful out of something which might be recognizable as garbage.
For the past few years, I have been living partially in a small town in the mountains, where I discovered that my neighbors have a very peculiar definition of entertainment. So I am making this short documentary, and I've brought some demo material that I want to show right now. This is not footage I will actually use in the film. It's not very representative for the visual style, but it will give you an idea of what I want to do. So let's watch it, and I will tell you more later. What happens here, it's a really small community where everybody knows everybody, not much happens, and we have bears coming to the garbage every night, and this is a very exciting and important moment for the people who live there. They have professional flashlights bought specifically for this. Some people go there with their cars and park them there. And use the headlights to light the scene. So even if it's the same event happening every night, it's a very important show for them. And what interested me the most and why I want to make this is to focus on the need of these people to make a show out of something that happens every night and may not be so interesting, but for them it's a big event and a big social event in the end.
I was all the time trying to catch to something to see what this is all about, and before you explained us what we saw, I had an idea at all. So I think it's a huge problem because the thing that you want to make film about is something which we could not see in the promotional material, and even though when you will go for a filming, it's going to be dark and maybe we'll see just some traces of a bear coming into this garbage land. So it's very hard to make this project the way you made a concept of, I'm afraid. So I think
so you're suggesting to change the trailer.
First of all you have to change the trailer, because if the trailer does not work without an explanation, then it's not a trailer, because we are the emotional reaction from us as a commissioner, from anyone that you want to show a trailer or demo material, is what he saw, not what you explain to him after what he saw. So first of all, it has to be clear what you want to make the film about. We have to see something, and of course it's hard to see the bears during the night, but in that case you should try to put the human content. What is lacking in this demo material is the human content.
It's a good subject, and I'm telling you this as an experienced animal filmmaker, because I made one film like 10 years ago. I made my first documentary about the goats and the humans, and it was quite successful. And the next documentary I made about the rabbits from the Berlin Wall, and it brought me Oscar nomination and many other awards. So, and I believe, and I check it, that it's really something, there's really some magic when you show the relation between humans and animals today, nowadays, you know, because we are living so far from animals that we are that especially those kind of exotic animals, that we are treating them as kind of aliens, you know, that we are so interested in them, in their habits, and certainly this is also why it is so important to, you know, have some interviews or some situations with people from the village, because certainly humans put human perspective on animals. So I'm nearly sure that they will tell you how they imagine living of the birds, what kind of, you know, human feature they have, that they, for instance, are very, you know, smart and tricky. They know when to come at night, they know what to steal, and this kind of stuff. So this can be extremely funny, but also very interesting, because you will have the bigger picture of human race, something like this, you know.